Hello, everybody. Buddy with Midland, Texas. I got another story for you today that's a follow up on what I did yesterday about the two policemen, their dad, and the policeman's wife. And this one I named Hang Up Call. A little story, and then I'll show you the evidence and the proofs on it. Okay. On December 15th, 2014, a hang up 911 call was made from the home of Midland K9 Police Officer Chad Simpson on Crenshaw Street. When the police arrived at the home, they found Chad Simpson dead and his wife, Sandra Simpson, barely alive. She was taken to the hospital and it was reported that she died, but then a couple of days later, the news reported they made a mistake and that she was still alive, but then died. It was bizarre. It's now known that Chad was one of the former secret police that had been caught on camera in my home after the murder attempt on my life on January 28, 2012. I'd been shot by somebody under my home with my phone lines cut and burglar alarms going off in my attic. Chad wasn't dispatched to my home that night, and his name had been omitted from the heavily falsified police report. But he was seen wearing a Midland K9 police jacket on one of the pictures from my bedroom security camera and later identified by Empire Private Investigations as being here. Chad Simpson and Midland police officer Steve Bracken were also dispatched to my home on December 19th, 2012. That was later on in the year. My Vivint alarm system dispatched the police to my attic. I had the system installed in my attic to prove that people were in my attic after I was shot with burglar alarms going off in my attic. I was telling them my story and showing them evidence that I'd found when one of them, who I now believe was Chad, sadly told me, "Buddy, I'm the low man on the totem pole." I knew what he was saying. He couldn't do anything about it, and somebody had told him to sit down and shut up. Several people told me that Chad was a good guy, and I wondered if he was going to snitch about the underground homes and parties at my home. But somebody didn't want that to happen. Here's some things about Chad. He was born in my hometown of Hobbs, New Mexico, and I know his aunt, Patty Trimley. In April 2003, Chad's unit was the first to arrive in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was promoted to sergeant. After leaving the military, he moved to Midland and joined the Midland Police Department. He was a K9 police officer and a member of the SWAT team and wanted to be the chief of police someday. Chad was promoted to sergeant in 2012. I was shot with my phone lines cut in January 2012, and I wondered if this promotion was a reward for his help in covering up the crimes and murders connected with the now not so secret underground homes here, which had hosted the parties for the Permian Basin International Oil Show. My friend, who was a NICU nurse, neonatal nurse at the Midland Hospital, told me that she knew Chad and Sandra Simpson when they had the two babies. She told me what wonderful parents they were, and she couldn't believe that Chad killed Sandra, especially with the babies in the house. His Aunt Patty told me that the Texas Rangers told the family that Chad's camera was left on in his police car, so they knew that nobody else had entered that home when Chad and Sandra were shot. I wondered if Chad's home was one of the many homes that had been rigged with a tunnel and had people in the attic. I've now documented more than a dozen other homeowners reporting people in the attic since I was shot by somebody under my home with burglar alarms going off my attic. But I lived here 2 years before I figured out that somebody else was here. I believe there are many more homes with tunnels and people in the attic, and the homeowners haven't figured this out yet. That is the modus operandi for these crimes. A tunnel under Chad's home would explain why nobody was seen arriving on his car camera. A guy on Facebook named Beetlejuice told me that he was a neighbor of Chad and Sandra, and he said that when he arrived at his home that SWAT was in his yard and on his roof, and his understanding is that there was a suspect on the run. It appeared to me that a cover-up was going on around the same time of this alleged murder-suicide. Another secret police, Midland Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, died in the line of duty 2 months earlier on October 9, 2014. The news reported that he was shot with a stolen gun. The secret police were secret for 6 years. They wouldn't even identify until 2018. On September 22nd, 2014, Suddenlink was in my alley, disconnected the cable service, which I'd found coming down the pole and going into the ground. This was only about 20 foot from where it's believed the underground home in my backyard is located. I suspected this was cable, internet, and phone service for the bunker in my backyard. I also saw that a live tree was removed from behind the Home Depot store, which sat next to the two side-by-side manholes, as well as the suspected tunnel entrance in the next-door neighbor's backyard. I had suspected these were tunnel entries and had posted about them on my Facebook before they were removed. All this was around the same time that Chad and Mike Naylor died. I understand this is a conspiracy theory, but I also know that by definition, all crimes committed by gangs, cartels, crime rings, and the mafia are conspiracies. Anytime two or more people plan a crime together, it's a conspiracy. They're common. So was Chad a good guy that was going to snitch, or was he the killer of his wife and the mother of his children? Here, I'm going to show you some of these proofs I got in here. I guess I'll just start with the first one. This is a police report from December 19, 2012. Okay, a vivid alarm goes off in the system. The dispatcher says he's afraid someone's in the attic. And, I had Vivint had dispatched the police to my home because it recognized somebody's in my attic. And yeah, we know that now with 50 other homeowners documenting reporting people in the attic. Okay, so then here's an operator named Kevin Bullard. Then there's Chad Simpson and Stephen Bracken. And he thinks people are in the walls. It's not a good alarm. 1096. You see how that works right there? That's what I've had to fight all this time. Okay, here is from Google Earth historical pictures. And I'll show you this picture here was taken in October 2nd, 2014. And remember, that was December 14 when Chad Simpson, the murder-suicide happened, okay? So I want to show you, here's this live tree in my alley behind my house, okay? And right here by 4/18/16, it's gone. They took it out. That was next to the two side-by-side manholes that I posted about that I suspected was a tunnel entrance. At the same time, in the neighbor's backyard was a suspected tunnel entrance, and it's removed too. That's what I'm showing. It looked like a cover-up was going on around the same time in 2014, where when all this happened, these police officers died. This is the guy that was on Facebook on Beetlejuice, okay? And he says he lives a couple houses over, and that night it happened. I was coming home from out of town. I arrived to the police and SWAT, I believe, in my yard and on the roof of my house. From my understanding that night, there was a suspect on the run, okay? And says, I just remember hearing that they were looking for a person that fled the scene. And you might be right about someone trying to tie up a loose end, okay? And so that's one person I documented. This is the obituary for Chad Dwayne Simpson, born Hobbs, New Mexico. Okay, April 2003, Chad's unit was the first to arrive in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom, promoted to sergeant while in Iraq. He was a K9 police officer. I had a picture of K9 police man in my house. That's where I put it together. And was on the SWAT team. Chad was promoted to sergeant 2012, had an outstanding personality, and his plan was to one day become chief of police. Those left behind to cherish his memory are just two twin children, Caden and Marie. They were in the house when this happened. That's where the 911 call happened, and so the police would go over there and find the babies. Was it made by Chad, or was it made by Chad and Sandra's killers? Okay, here's Sandra's obituary. Okay. And there's a picture, the Midland K9 police officer in my house, and she was a registered nurse and the mother of these two children right here, okay? Okay, this is Mike Naylor. He was shot with a stolen gun. Doesn't that sound like a drop gun? That was 2 months before, okay? Here it is. This was responded to a silent 911 call. That's what I was saying. They found, first responder found Simpson deceased from a gunshot wound. His 32-year-old Sandra was transported to the hospital, life-threatening injuries from a gunshot, believed to be by officials fatally shortly before her arrival. And so that's what I was telling you. And then more on there. Okay. Here in my alley was the two Suddenlink trucks that showed up to disconnect the underground internet service, cable internet service. Okay. And then we're back to the police report for when the police were dispatched on a house. So anyways, I thought y'all might find that interesting there. And what's going on? Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.